Next slide. Again, everything that we do is not only all military with our guard, and we help out the villages when we can. So this is an outlying village close to the training center in Bandung, and the village name is Nampong, kind of a small village, but everything is kind of, I use my term, a big secret. When I say, wow, this is a village of 400, but when the facilities are there and the improvements are there, well, the village swells to a couple of thousand, okay? And so we were tasked with rebuilding their community center, building a baby clinic, and we had 10 days to do it, working with the Indonesian Army at $50,000. When I got the brief, I said, you know, it was at this stage of the construction, captain commanding an engineer company, you gonna make it? I said, sir, we're gonna make it. And not only that, we'll have extra money and we'll have extra time. We've asked the Indonesians what else they want us to do in a 10-day period. I took this picture because I was just impressed that the scaffolding was made of teak. That they would be using teak as scaffolding. I'm going, wow. Next slide. Okay, working on the community center. I think this is the embassy rep. Next slide. I had to take this one. They employed the local brick maker, paid him a whole couple pennies a brick. Big money over there. Next slide. And we worked hand in hand with the Indonesian Armed Forces to build the facility. Go ahead. Next slide. So end result is a baby care clinic during the day and a community center, additional community center at night. Next slide. This is the community center renovated completely. Next slide. This is for the military folks. We like to leave our mark, you know, like Kilroy was here. Next slide. So they even built an open air amphitheater for the village. And of course, this is the 411th Engineer Battalion. The construction unit came from the Army Reserve, our partners in Hawaii and Guam, because our National Guard engineer unit is in Afghanistan. And they will be home sometime between Christmas and New Year's. So. But they could not be here in time to support this project, so the reserves jumped in. Next slide. Okay, I show this because this is the bathing area of the village of Nampong. Next slide. Extra, they built a bathhouse for the village. Next slide. Also, during recent rains and all, this irrigation ditch for this rice field, you can see that right next to the village bathing pool, water goes back and forth and just doesn't work. Next slide. So, troops did that in the 10-day period. Next slide. This is playground number 2. They had enough money to build 4 playgrounds for the kids and finished in time. Next slide. And this is what it's all about, you know, for building relationships, having the trust with the Americans, and so we plan to do this in different parts of Indonesia, in just what, in a similar manner what General Wong did for Pacific Angel. This was primarily more Army ground operation, but as we continue to do this, not only Indonesia and Southeast Asia, they see that the U.S. military forces, but there was a specific reason to choose National Guard or reserves, because we're also civilians and a part of the community, and it's less of a clash culturally and also politically than active forces coming on in. Through our Homeland Security Summits and through great work with Dr. Rohan Gutnaratne out of Singapore, he is the CNN Al-Qaeda expert. We have worked on numerous occasions with General Tito. General Tito is the commanding general of Delta 88, the anti-terrorism force in Indonesia. Let me assure you, they are very effective and aggressive. And I just want to summarize that in 2003, as I started my tenure as adjutant general, what was the atmosphere and environment really facing all of us within a few years after September 11th? In the Pacific, it was all about radical Islamic groups exporting terrorism. Jakarta bombings, Marriott bombings, Bali bombings, Abu Sayyaf kidnapping in the southern Philippines. These groups were just trying to reach out and export terrorism. Well, through cooperation with Delta 88 and building capacity in a lot of countries, our National Guard in the southern Philippines, and just quietly, soft power. We don't care for CNN and Fox to come with their cameras to show what the Americans are doing. Our focus here in the Pacific is how do we make these countries successful so the people have the confidence that their government is able to handle the situation. We really prefer to be behind the scenes here. So fast forward to 2008, is Jamal Islamia, a radical Islamic group in Indonesia, Abu Sayyaf in the southern Philippines. I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, these groups are just trying to survive. They're not even thinking about exporting terrorism. We have other areas in the Pacific that we need to work on. National Guard from other states, we're not there yet. I'm not volunteering. We have a lot of work to do in Indonesia, but Hawaii being responsible for the Philippines too, I'd just like to report that, and I tell friends, especially in this climate of the Hawaii Indonesia Chamber of Commerce. From what I've seen, at least from the past 3 years, a lot closer in. You know, you all know about the BRICS, the Brazil, Russia, India, and China. I really believe the BRIC acronym is missing an I. It should be Brazil, Russia, India, Indonesia, and China. I'm very impressed with how SBY is decentralizing from the very first time we met them in 2007. You know, you see this in the laws of giving the governors more power and trying to have the provinces and the population centers beyond Jakarta have economic vitality. And so not everything is not Jakarta centric. The Philippines, unfortunately, well, the new president Aquino has some work to do, but we've also been in the Philippines all these years, and right now it's just talk. We're trying to help them build capacity, but to compare just these two countries that we've been involved with, I see fantastic progress in Indonesia, and I know for our troops in the National Guard, it's going to be just enjoyable to continue working with not only the Indonesian armed forces, but the Indonesian government and our exchange programs to have Indonesians come to the state of Hawaii. And it's not just their military, it's their civil defense, it's their emergency management and preparedness as a team, because they've seen how we do it in the state of Hawaii.